Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast, your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Soft Bites podcast. I'm here with George Andre. And if you are listening to us only on the podcast version with sound, I recommend you that you go today to our YouTube channel to see George Andre, because he's in a beautiful set. Hello, Andre. Tell us where you are, please.
Hi, Manuela. Hi, everybody. I'm here in a place that I come very often. I come at least twice a year for a small break. It's Arifana. It's in the south of Portugal, near Algesur. Actually, it's near the place where we are about to do the course on conscious leadership, which is in Sagres. But yes, I love this place of Portugal. And for me, it's one of the best places in the world. I can't say that I have not been in many places, because I have. I've been traveling a lot, but I love this place. I think this is one of the sweetest places on the planet. And there's this great combination of the ocean and mountains, and it's very peaceful and very, very calm. And I love coming back here. For some times a year, and yes, and the view is quite nice. I managed to place the computer outside in the balcony, so yeah, you can see on my back. You can see Arifan, you can see the ocean and the landscapes. So yeah, I would advise you to come and check this episode on YouTube.
Yeah, and for me, it's a very special place also because I'm from the south of Portugal, and it's you cannot. We are in the beginning of December, and the light that you have there and the temperature, you don't. I mean, in Europe, you don't have that anywhere else. But yeah, that's a great way of us to start. And one of the reasons why we chose the place Sagres, which is also in the south of Portugal and near where you are. It's because of that also, right? To have our course in a special place where we both feel good, and also to our other colleagues to know this special places that our country has. Okay, so
Absolutely.
let's start our episode of today. Today we're going to talk about how to start making time for management. And this was something that we already talked about very briefly in another episode. And we thought that this would be a good way of continue because it might seem very overwhelming for dentists to start making time for management. And again, not only to practice owners, even if you are a dentist, an associate working for another colleague or for a company, you need time for management for yourself, to do your treatment plans, to do all the logistics, all the bureaucracy that the profession demands. And I myself find that dentists have difficulties on doing that because, and again, dentists only think of work only when they are in the chair, right? Even the dentists that I know that already are working on chair, imagine 4 days a week, and when I ask, what about on the 5th day, what you do? Then I do all the bureaucracy, I do all the treatment plans, I do all that. So that's work too. So they have to include that as work. But they don't think of it as work, and this is a big shift that dentists need to do, and that's why I think this episode will be useful.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
will give my perspective in a theoretical way, and I think you will bring again the practicality of of how to do it. And I know that you have an exercise for this, and I know that you practice it yourself. You had to do it for yourself to have time for management. So tell me, how did you do it, and how do you think other dentists could do it to start making
Yeah.
time for management in a way that they don't feel it's overwhelming, in
Yeah.
a way
Yeah.
that they don't feel that like they are losing money, because this is important also.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very interesting topic, because it's very, it goes it deals with the root of everything that you need to do in order to get what you want from the profession, which is basically you want to have a healthy, um, a healthy balance, let's say it, in the way that you devote yourself to the profession while still having time to do whatever you want, to do what you want in your life. And there are many things that we can say about this topic. And as a starting point, I would say that the first thing that you need to do is to stop and really think about what do you want your days to be like. And this is a question that not many dentists do to themselves. So what is exactly what I would like my life to be, my days to be? Because I think it's Susan Sontag. I'm not sure, but I think it is her that says that the way that you spend your days is the way that you spend your life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you really have to think about what is what is the best way to spend your days, and are your days always going to be the same? Do you think that there are some days a week that need to be different than the others? So, and there's no definite answer to this, because some people, they prefer to work a lot 3 days a week and then rest 2 days a week. Some people prefer to work a lot in the morning and don't work in the afternoon. So this is very different from everyone. Um, I'll tell you my perspective, for example. And I was thinking about that when in the last weeks, I was really overwhelmed with work, but I was also looking forward for this week that I'm spending in, which is I'm having some time off, and I seem to work well in this binary way, which is I work very hard for a few days, and then I have some completely time off for some other days. But some people, they prefer to do it, like, let's say it halfway, more more grayish, which is they work a lot in the morning and they don't work in the afternoon. So it really depends on on how you want your life to be, and there can even be a combination of that. So once you decide that, and I think that that is different for everyone. So basically, you have to decide: well, do I want to have a balanced day, or do I want to work hard some days and rest the other days? So it really depends on your personality, on your family. Either if you have some parallel activities, because you may not be a dentist full time. So it depends. So once you decide on that, I think a good exercise is to write it down, and we can have a podcast on that, so of writing down goals, and not only goals, but how would you like your work to be? How would you like your days to be? But writing things down, I think it's a very nice exercise, and we can talk about that in a different podcast. But once you decide that, so let's say, well, I want a perfect day to be like this. So let me give you an example. Um, I want to work to see only 3 patients a day. That would be my perfect day. Let's say that's what you want. And I'm thinking about myself, because I like to do very complex and detailed work and stuff. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. So let's say that at this point in time, I'm seeing 15 patients a day. And I don't want that. I want to reduce the number of patients that I see, and like you were saying, without losing money. So we are thinking about the shift in the type of practice that you have. And of course, that if you want to see less patients a day, to do more combined work within a patient, you have to change the way that you communicate. You eventually have to think about people to delegate. You have to think about changing even the concept and the philosophy of your practice. And like you were saying, it's very overwhelming, because how can you do all this? How can you do all these transformations? And one trick that I learned from Frank Spear, which is my role model as a dentist, in terms, not only in terms of lifestyle but also in terms of technical dentistry. Frank Spear and John Coyce, they are my two roles. And one of the things that I learned with Frank Spear is that, like everything in life, you start step by step. And there are really no limits of what you can achieve when you have this step-by-step philosophy of building layers over layers, of doing things one step at a time. And one thing that he mentioned, and I'll never forget about it, is that if you want to have a perfect day in your practice, you have to do it step by step. And one example that he gives is start by one day of a month. So one day in a month, you do your perfect practice day. So one day in a month, you do, okay, so today I'm only going to see 3 patients, or today I'm only going to work in the morning, or today I'm only going to work in the afternoon and I'm going to surf in the morning, or be with my family, or be with my kids. So this is my perfect day. And this is how I would like the vast majority of my days would be like. So you start by one day a month. And there are no excuses for that, because one day a month, of course, that initially you may be losing money if you think about the money that you make seeing 10 patients or seeing only 3 patients. So if you do it one day in a month, it will not be significant, and you'll start to get the hang of that, and you'll start to realize that you can have within the practice that you have now, and of course that we are supposing that you are seeing, like, you have like a volume-based practice, like you see 10 patients a day, 15 patients a day, and you want to do more differentiated work. So I think a good option would be, so let's make this one day at a month. And for this one day at a month, I'm only going to see the patients that accept more complex treatment. And I'm going to see them one day at a month. And once you realize, you'll be actually doing like 2 days in a month. And from 2 days in a month, you'll be doing like 1 day in a week. And you build from there. That's how transformations are made. They are made step by step. I've had that transformation myself, because my practice is in a small town, and I wouldn't say volume dentistry, but I would do regular dentistry. I had no time to document my cases, so I started doing that step by step. I started to do that once a month, and then twice a month, and then all of a sudden, once you realize, step by step, I have a team with associates that take care of many of the stuff that I prefer not to do, and yes, of course, you will never reach perfection. You'll never be completely satisfied, but you also have to learn to, because sometimes you set a goal, and when you reach it, you realize that you're still not completely happy. But that's not I wouldn't say that that's not the kind of happiness you are searching. I think the kind of happiness that everybody is searching is to have fun in what you are doing in the moment, right? So it's not something in the future. So if you are having fun in the moment, if you are happy with what you're doing, even though it's not perfect, I think you have to enjoy it and look back and see how far you've come, and just enjoy the moment. So I think that one of the best acts is to start step by step. And of course, and just to wrap this up, of course, that when I talk, that all of a sudden I realized I have a team of many people. I have about 6 to 7 doctors working with me, and the same amount of assistants. Of course, that's not built from one day to the other. There are some issues there. There are some people that came, some people that went. Not everybody will eventually fit in your team, but you have to start somewhere, and you have to start step by step. And the advice that I would give, looking back, that I would give myself is to not to focus too much on the goal, not to focus too much on exactly what you want, but throughout all the transformations, just make sure you are still enjoying the process and taking some time off to enjoy with your family, with your friends, with whoever you want. And I think that's a good advice. Yes, you have some transformations. You have to write down things. You have to make things happen. You have to delegate things. You have to organize things, and you have to set boundaries on the amount of patients that you see, if that is one of the things that you are looking for. But you also have to make sure that you have fun throughout the process, because that's where life is. The life is not in the final goal. Life is actually the small steps and the fun and the struggles and the thrill of the struggles that you have every day.
Yeah, there's so much to unwrap on what you said.
Yeah, I get highly inspired. I am here, so you have to stop me. Because
no, I made some notes so that we go through it. First, and very important, that I think it would be a great exercise. I'm going to put it on the show notes for everyone that is listening to us to do. Write down, free flow, write, how do you want your days to be like? This is the number one point to start. Because and I have that in my courses, on my mindfulness courses to dentists. Usually the courses are 8 weeks, and in the end they have this clear vision of how they want their days to be like, and that's the beginning point. And then, like you said, step by step, small actions that will have a great impact after 1 year, because you don't see it the next week. You will see it after 1 year, after 2 years. You will see the impact of that small actions that you have during your day. But you have to know, how do you want your days to be like? You have to know what gives you pleasure in dentistry. How do you enjoy the ride, like you were saying? And for my experience, most of dentists don't know this. They don't have this idea. I can give you an example that stayed with me until now, and we are still good friends, of a colleague that he did the course with me. And he realized that he was an endodontist. He only did endo with his own clinic, with everything, very good clinic. And he was not happy on that. And he realized while he was doing the course that when he had microsurgery, in that week, he was happy, and the day before he was super pumped and preparing everything after. And that day he was really happy, and he realized, yeah, wait, this gives me pleasure. This is what I want to do. And after 1 year, we meet again, and he was able to change all his practice, and all he does now is microsurgery. And it was not easy. And he said it was not easy. He had a lot to delegate. He had a lot to explain because people didn't understand. But okay, you are an endodontist. That's what you do. Why do you want to change everything now? Yeah, because I don't like it anymore. Don't have fun with it anymore. And he did it. Yeah. He had to change all his practice, all his clinic. He had to delegate, but he did it. And he is in a completely different place now. So to have this clear vision of how you want your days to be like, to have this clear feeling, because it's a feeling of what in dentistry makes you happy, right? That's very important, and that will lead you then to the small actions that will allow you to, from in 1 year or 2 years, to be in a completely different place, enjoying your work. So I think that what you said, it's extremely important. And to make this exercise, to really write down, free-flowing writing, just put your mobile phone on silent mode, put the alarm for 10 minutes, and just put pen to paper, don't take it out, and just write whatever comes. I call it a brain dump. You put everything that comes to your head in paper. And then when the alarm goes off after 10 or 15 minutes, you stop, you take a deep breath, and you read what you've just wrote. Right? And this is just the beginning. Of course, you're going to continue to write. You're going to do bullet points, whatever works for you. And again, what you said, it's also very true. It's very personal. What works for me might not work from you. What I want from life might be completely different from what you want. So it's your day, it's your practice, it's your life. And you only realize that if you do this kind of exercises. But this is the starting point. And after that, then you have to be intentional. Then you have to start taking those small actions. And in the beginning, they might be really small. And just like you said, just planning one day a month for you to try that experience, or how it would be like to live that day. Because if you start doing that, and if you start, then it happens. A very special thing is that instead of thinking about the benefits, or instead of reading about the benefits, you start feeling it. You start feeling the benefits, and that will be one of the main motivations for you to continue. That will be your drive, because you start living what you are only what before you only had on your mind. So we already have a very good exercise that I think it's the starting point of everything, and it's a very powerful question. So how do you want your days to be like as a dentist? And from that, then I'm sure there will be dozens, I can bet dozens of very small actions that you can take, but that will have a direct and very deep impact on your days and your dentistry and on your life. But let's talk more about this practical actions. So, for example, you suggested, and let's stay on the basics here. Let's stay on the basics on this episode. Let's stay one day in a month, like you suggested. What practical actions can be taken for someone to organize that day in a month? For me, I would say, first of course, you have to put it on your agenda. So take the practical step of choosing that day and put it in the agenda. So imagine the 10th of January, I'm going to have this day. And another practical action is to inform your staff, of course. So if you are the practice owner, you will inform your staff, okay, this day, 10th of January, these are the guidelines for my day. This is what I'm going to do. And if you are not a practice owner, on that 10th of January, you choose the practice where you are, if you work in different places. And you also talk to the assistant and say, look, I would like this day that I would do this, that I have this kind of patients, that I have, imagine, 2 hours appointments, or that I only have 3 patients. So my 2 practical actions would be that. So first, to choose the day, and then to inform the ones that are in a way responsible or connected to make that day happen. What do you think?
Well, yes, of course, that's critical. You have to, people that work with you, they have to be on the same page, So yes, I would talk to them. Like I was saying, I usually have regular meetings with my dental nurses and the girls and the guys that are taking care of the management. I do it regularly with them, and I use a lot of email to communicate with them. So we have a very open communication. So at every time in the day, we during the workday, we communicate through email. So there's this communication culture that you need to establish. Of course, that if you tell me, well, my communication with my team is very low, first things that you have to work is communication, because you cannot just tell your nurse to so you are going to block the agenda for this day. But if that is not something, that communication, if it's not something that is usual with the team, she might feel a little bit surprised, right? So you have to start with the basics. So there needs to be a communication, an open communication culture in the team, and I think this is I don't think this is negotiable. I mean, you may say, well, I don't like to tell many details to my team. Well, you have to. You have to. If you think, because that's a very bossy way of running things. That okay, so I don't like to tell the secrets of my business to my team. I don't want them to know more than I want them to know. So I mean, everybody knows everything, even the amount of money that some other associate does, even the salaries of someone else. I mean, which is very sensitive stuff. I mean, everybody knows that in a small team, because I mean, you can't hide that. So you have to be transparent, and you have to establish a communication culture. And that brings me to the point of, you have to tell them why you're doing this, because you may tell them, look, you have to book time for that, but why are you doing this? Well, I am doing this because the goal is this, and the goal is not only for me, and that's also very important. The goal is for everybody. I mean, you cannot ask people to support you in your goals if you don't support people in their own goals. You have to explain them, and and the goal must be shared by everybody. And they have to say, okay, we are doing this because I want to have less stress, and I want you girls and you guys to have less stress. You will see it will be better for everyone. It will be a less stressful day. I want to see less patients in a day. I want to do more of this procedure. And by the way, I also know this is better for everyone. And ask for feedback, and you need to make the communication interactive, of course. And yeah, you have to tell them, but you also need to tell them why, and make sure that there is a communication culture. And the communication culture is a mix of regular meetings and written communication, that like we've talked in some other podcasts. But you also have to tell them why, and ask them if they agree with that, and if it makes sense for them. Because if it doesn't make sense for them, if you are making this decision unilaterally, you'll not be successful, because people don't understand it, and they may interpret it from a wrong point of view, that you are just want to do things from a selfish perspective and for your own good. And they have to understand it's for the good of everybody, because once you have a team, you are part of the team, and it's not only your interest, it's also the interest of the team. And in most of the situations, your own benefits will be the benefits of the team as well. So yes, I would say you have to let them know, but you have to have a communication culture, and you also need to have you have to ask for feedback, and they have to understand, and they have to participate in that decision, and their word is also important. Yes.
Can I ask you something? Let's say, and because I know colleagues, dentists that are not clinic owners, and they have so much difficulty on making these changes, and there are some places that they have to leave, because they cannot make those changes in those clinics. And of course they leave knowing that is not the right place for them to practice the dentistry that they want to practice. But as a clinic owner, how do you support a dentist when he comes to you and he says, look, I'm thinking about I've been thinking about how I want my days to be like as a dentist, and I would like on the 10th of January to have this day in my agenda where I will only have 3 patients, and I will do this and this and this. How you, as a clinic owner, take this and support this colleague that comes to you and with this idea?
Well, first of all, there are 2 surfers down there. They are in a caravan, and you'll see the noise of them waxing up their boards. So don't get bothered with that. That's a wonderful sound. So what you're asking is actually very interesting, because it's something that I have to work on myself, and I have to say that I consider myself to be in a quite advanced level regarding that, because I wanted to, when I opened my practices, because I wanted to have control, and I wanted to see less patients, and I want to document everything. So some people sometimes ask me advice. Well, I want to document and telling my own story. I would say that if I had a place where they would allow me to work this way, I wouldn't need to open a practice, right? But it's difficult to have a place and with a philosophy that they will allow you to do what you want, which is basically see less patients, and in the first years maybe be less profitable. But on the long term, they realize they have someone there that could differentiate themselves and eventually bring more patients to what he's doing. One thing that I'm not very good at is to do the. I think I'm quite effective to do group management, but there's one thing that is very important in coaching, and because I never had any I never studied on that, never had any courses on coaching. I've done some myself, but I have never studied the art of coaching. And one of the important things that I realize is to sit down one on one. I don't know if I'm sure you know that, but sitting down one on one is something which I have to admit that I don't do that often. I started to do it more recently, over the last year, I would say. But actually sitting down with someone and asking them, well, what do you want from this job? Or some other question would be, what would you like to be different in this job so you could be happier? And I did this a few years ago, and I had some very interesting responses. For example, one of my associates, she told me, look, I want to travel with my kids. I want to have more time to travel with my kids. And of course, that also means to be financially more profitable. Some other would say, I just want to do more of these procedures. Some would say, I just want to have less hours of work. So it's difficult to combine all these things. But eventually, you have to have these conversations. You have to ask them. Because if you don't ask, they will never. They may feel afraid of telling you, and that creates not a very positive environment. So I think if they feel listened, and if they see that you are making an effort for that to happen, I think that creates a very positive environment. And yes, that's one of the things that I think I need to work more, and I think I should do it regularly. So I would say that I would probably have to say that I should be having this conversation on one with each doctor and each assistant that works with me. I would say twice a year at least, which I don't do at this point. I maybe do it like once a year, but I should be doing it more, because I think it's something very positive. But coming back to your question, if I had an associate that would ask me that, I would probably help him to do that. So if you'd say, well, I want one day to see 3 days a week, to see, 3 patients a day. Yes, you can do that. You can do that. As long as my rule is this, as long as you make sure everything is organized for that to happen. I mean, because there are many rules in terms of patient management in my practice. For example, if he's going to do a surgery 1 week before, he must have all the prescriptions and everything. All the lab communications need to be on time. All the communication with the assistants, all the material needs to be back. I would say, for example, and this also comes back to time management. So working in the practice, it's not only what you spend with the patient, and over the recent years, the amount of work that you need to do without the patient that you can eventually do at home has increased dramatically, exponentially. Because, for example, you spend much more time communicating with the labs. You spend much more time ordering very specific components, for example, for implants that you need to have. You spend much more time communicating with the patient and presenting the treatment plan and organizing treatment plans and making sure that everything is on the right track. So if someone would come and ask me, can I do this? My answer would be, and looking back, which is actually what I do, and I'm very, very strict on that. Yes, as long as there are no failures in terms of patient communication, lab communication, making sure the materials are here and are organized a few days before the patient comes, make sure that the patient knows the post-operative care, make sure the patient knows what he has to pay and what he doesn't have to pay, and that's it. So if they tell me that all those small steps are organized, lab communication, material is ready, communication with the assistant, so everything that needs to be done beforehand, payments, if everything is under control and thought of beforehand, yes, they can do whatever they want in my practice. It's true. They can. Actually, at this point in time, they already can do that. They can do that. But I think this is a very, it maybe feel a little bit odd for many dentists, because I think that most dentists still see dentistry as something that you do with the patient share side.
Yeah.
And most dentists believe that you only make money by having the patient in your chair, which is actually absolutely not true. You know what I think you make the most money?
Yeah.
And this is a little bit out of most of the money that you make is actually when you are doing the treatment plan. When you are writing down, that's where you make the money, because that's where you decide what you're about to charge. And it's and you're not with the patient share side. So as long as all those things they are assured, yes, they can do whatever they want, and I would let them do whatever they want. Yes.
That what you said is so important, because it takes a shift on the dentist mentality. Several things that you said regarding the money, regarding work is only when you work on the patient's mouth, because that's where you earn money, and that's not true. Even what the theme of our episode today being how to start making time for management. I'm sure that some colleagues start listening to it expecting that we were going to talk something very different of what you are talking, of what we have been talking until now. So we are talking about how you want your days to be like. So how you enjoy what you are doing, how you start making that happen, right? And I think that there's this old vision of dentistry that is very money based, that you only make money working on your patient mouth, and that's the only work that counts, that then leads to all these decisions that stop you from having the practice and the dentistry that you want, and stop you from enjoying it. And of course, this is not always like this. I don't want to make this general, but it still happens. And to be able to make that shift, to even to realize what you just said, that there's a lot of work nowadays, that it's not done just when you have the patient next to you, that's work, and should be counted as work. It has to be on your agenda. It's very important work. It's that work that ultimately will bring you the money and that will bring you the satisfaction, because then when you have the patient by your side, your head is clear, you are relaxed, you know that you've done the work, you are prepared. So realizing that is, it's a big shift, but and again, I think that you only realize it when you put it in practice. When you stop listening to us talking and you start doing it, you start to feel for yourself the benefits, because that's what I also see. It's many colleagues knowing this in theory, and they even realize, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but then they don't take the leap, they don't make they don't take the steps that will lead to the change for them to feel the benefits. And I say it again because it's very important. Only when you start feeling the benefits, then that will be the motivation you need to continue and to go from 1 day in a month, from 2 days in a month, from 1 week, and then after a few years, you are having the days that you want in dentistry. Andre, any more practical actions and how to start making time for management?
Yeah, I think we've touched the key points. I would say that the step-by-step philosophy is important, and make sure that everybody is on the same page when you are when you do these decisions. Start by 1 day in a month. I think it's also good, and realizing that it's not only with the patient share side that you are actually doing dentistry. That is the biggest part of dentistry, but it's probably more important in terms of optimizing your finances, and money is actually even more important. The time that you spend without the patient share side, communicating with the lab, ordering the materials, making sure the treatment plan that you have done is correct. So yes, the way that you manage your time, you have to think about what you are doing, and you have to plan it correctly, and you have to place time aside to plan that. That needs to be planned, and that needs to be written. And yes, of course, that you need to take action. And if you look at it in a step-by-step perspective, in like a 1 day in a month, then you will be. Then I think the risk is really low.
So good time management, it's a big thing in dentistry. The time that you spend planning, the time that you spend organizing your practice, so that when you are with your patient next to you, you have everything organized and clear and ready to go. It should be counted as work, and it should be in your agenda. You should not do that between patients. You should not do that after a hard day of work. Also, to be intentional with your actions, that's very, very important also. So if you reserve, for example, a morning to do your treatment plans, if your agenda is full, you have to be intentional and keep that morning for that. You cannot just, okay, I'll put just this patient here. No. You have to guard that space. You have to inform your staff, inform your assistant. This is how it's going to be. guard that time for me, please. It's work. I'm working. I don't want patients on this space. And again, start to live it and start to feel the benefits. You will, from that moment, you will start seeing the changes, and you will keep on going. Just to finish, and going back again to the colleagues that are not practice owners, and that start to have this vision of how they want their days to be like, and how they want their dentistry to be like. If you go to a practice owner, and you come and you open your heart or open your head, and tell them your ideas, and ask them if you can have one day in a month. And if you have a negative answer, I have a very personal opinion about this, and I already told it here today, that I think you have to leave, because I think that we should work in places where we share the same values, that we work with the same values of the clinic, of the company. So my last question to you is this. So do you think it's possible for someone to practice or to enjoy a dentistry where he cannot, or he or she cannot live that dentistry, where he cannot put in practice what his vision for dentistry, or what he wants for dentistry? I'll give you an example regarding time. If you, as a professional, feel that you should have only 1 hour appointments, and you go, and because you have half an hour appointments, and that's the clinic rules, and you go and you say, look, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I would like, let's just start small, and we will see. But I would like 1 day in a month from now on to start having appointments of 1 hour instead of half an hour. And if the answer is no, and you think, and if you stay on that place, how is your dentistry going to be? How you are going to feel? Is it possible for someone to enjoy his work like that?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I think that if you think that people are not willing to listen and to give you some chances of doing some change, I think you have to leave. I think that there's some other things that you can do. Usually, what I tell my students, and you just said a 30-minute or 1 hour appointment. There's, for example, some other very important question, which is, would you do initial examinations in your practice? Because many people believe that the initial examination should not be done, should be done in control appointments or in between appointments. And for me, the initial examination is probably the most important and the most profitable of all the procedures, because this is where you can convince the patient and talk to the patient and have time to talk to the patient to realize that he needs much more much more dentistry that what most patients believe they need. So one thing is what they want, the other thing is what they need. And for you to fill this gap, you have to have time for the initial examination. And the initial examination has this huge variety of advantages. It's just what distinguishes 95% of the dentists from the top 5% of dentists is the fact that they do the initial examination. So sometimes the students tell me, well, but the place that I own, maybe sometimes it's a corporate. They don't let me do that. Or I work in a small practice, they don't let me do that. And I usually tell them, look, either you charge or you don't charge. I don't think that's the point, even though I think you should charge at the point, that initial appointment. But the thing is that you have to do it. So if I were you, I would come to my boss and I would say, look, I went to a course, and I would like you to give me 1 hour appointments for initial examination with the patients whenever they ask for an opinion. If you don't feel like charging it, I am happy to do that for free. But I would like you to give me, I would ask you to give me the opportunity to test this for 6 months to 1 year. I am 100% sure that you will see this will be a profitable, and the amount of patients and the amount of dentistry that this will bring to this practice will be positive. And I think we will feel better because we'll be doing more of actually what the patient needs and not only what the patient wants. And just give me that chance for 6 months. And if after 6 months you believe it's not worth it, then it's okay. But just give me that chance for 6 months. And if you feel like you don't have to, if you feel like you don't have to charge it, so don't charge it. So you have to be willing to give. You have to be willing to give a part of yourself if you want to get something, because that's like everything in life. Nothing happens without. I mean, the amount of things that you get in life are proportional to the amount of energy that you spend doing them. I think this is basic, and you have to be willing to, especially in the early parts of your career, to give of yourself, because this is the best. I don't have the energy at 40s that I used to have at 20s, and it's a completely different energy and motivation. But at 20s, I would do whatever I want, whatever I would exhaust myself working and convincing the patient and reading articles and writing articles and stuff like that. So you have to take advantage of the most energetic years of your life to be able to do some sort of work for free. You have to be willing to do that. And I think that you have to make an irresistible offer to your boss. If you believe that's a good place, of course, that if you see completely unilateral decisions, of course you have to leave. I mean, there's no point in Spain. And unfortunately, I have to say that I might be wrong, but the vast majority of dentists, of leaders, they are not very open to this sort of propositions. And I think things are changing, of course, but unfortunately, the vast majority are still having that very traditional view of dentistry that you only make money with the patient. You only make money doing procedures. No, you make money thinking about the procedures that you are about to do and communicating them. This is where you make the money. This is why I'm telling that initial examination is really key. And of course, that also has a parallel with the time of the appointment. You cannot do dentistry with 30-minute appointments. This is impossible. It's not possible unless it's a very, very small procedure. You don't have time to numb the patient. For a regular feeling, numbing the patient, talking to the patient, polishing. I mean, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do things in 30 minutes. I don't know if you hear the saxophone on the back. Do you hear it? There's a guy. Yeah. There's a guy playing saxophone. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah. So yes, that's it. I mean, you have to be willing to give before you take, and you also have to be willing to once you make yourself vulnerable and tell them what you need to do and what you would like to do. And if you feel there's no sort of empathy, there's no sort of understanding in what you are asking, then yes, you have to leave.
Yeah, you have to leave, but you already are leaving in a completely different place because you already know what you want for yourself. So it will be easier to look for other place that will share the same values and that will be able for you to implement your way of work. And this has to do also with, and this is all connected. I mean, in the last episode, we talked about communication and how a good communication then gives you autonomy. For me, a very important thing is if a clinic has a system in place, and that system is based on the values, right, of the clinic, then it will be much easier for the workers or the associates or the assistants to work on that place, because you will all share the same values. So you are all with the same guidelines. So that's much easier. But and I'm sure we're going to be talking about this more in the future. But you touched some so much important issues here today, including the fact that you could lead a clinic based on what your what your colleagues, what your associates want, and by asking them what they want and how can I help you? How can this practice help you having the performing the dentistry that you want and that you like, instead of based on, okay, you have to reach this goal of this is what you have to reach in the end of the month, and for that you have to have appointments every 45 minutes or something like that.
It's I think even the leadership role, and I think we'll talk a lot about that in the course, even what it means to be a leader today is you need to I've learned a lot with Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think you're a follower, Gary V, and he has this saying that says that actually you work for the people that you employ, and because you work for them, you are highly paid for that, because they are not your employees. Basically, you are working for them, and to be able to, and it's such a demanding job to work for your employees that you have to be paid for that. But you have to make sure that there's this shift because if you think that you are going to dentistry to make money and to be in charge of people and that to be bossy with people. And I think there's just so many shifts going on at this time. Even a few days ago, I just saw an article of the amount of people that are quitting their jobs with the pandemic. I don't know if you ever heard about it.
Yeah,
I mean, things are shifting
so
much.
The big dropout or something like that.
Yes, exactly. So I think this is a reflection that most people. And yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine about that, and I was telling, look, it's so very complex the way that people approach work today, so very different than it was 10 years ago, and I have this feeling that most people are not happy in their jobs, and it's a gigantic task to make sure that they have pleasant time while they are working. It's a gigantic job because people are complex. And even if you do, one thing that I realized, even if you do everything right, everything is right and you do the best, there's people wear down with time, and you have to understand that people go through ups and downs, and people go through better phases and less better phases. And to be able to handle all that, it's difficult, and still maintain a strong team that has many components: financially, time, the way that you talk to them. One of the things that I think is really important we can eventually talk about that, which is the energy of the place. And the energy of the place for me has to do a lot with noise control, at least for me. I get really bored when people talk loud in my practice. I really get bored. They really touch my buttons with that. Either it's an assistant or a doctor to the patient or whatever, because I think that so much energy, so much bad energy comes from talking loud in the practice. That's just one of the components, just to tell you about the importance of how complex it is to maintain people happy in the practice. I think it's very difficult. On the other hand, it's very rewarding, because when you look back, when I look back, and especially when in the toughest times, I think that in most of the situations, my team has gotten my back when they feel that I'm through a worse phase. But for them to have my back, I need to have their back. I need to make sure that their needs are met, and it's a difficult work. And because it's a difficult work, yes, you need to manage your time because you cannot do anything. You have to delegate and time management. Like you were saying, you need to make sure that you properly plan the time that you spend in your day. And today it's completely clear that you are spending more and more time with the patient outside the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And even the digital components of practice is increasing. I mean, people with aligners, they are monitoring aligners at home. They are doing teleappointments. There are so many new technologies that demand the dentist to work without the patient share side. So I think that people need to think about that. People need to think that dentistry and every sort of profession, there's a big shift now, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to embrace these shifts with imagination but especially with joy. I mean, we cannot fear these changes. We have to embrace them, and we have to have fun with them, and we have to reinvent ourselves, and we need not to be stuck in the idea of what we have from ourselves and the ideas that we have, because things change, and there's these big shifts going on and happening in dentistry that will demand much more open-mindedness from leaders and from associates and from whoever. But yes, I think we should start by great communication, and they need to understand that why you are doing the shift that you are doing. And that is because of your own good, but also the patient's own, also the team's own good. So that at the end of the day, they can be happier in their workplace. And usually, I think that happier people in the workplace will make you more money. That's what I think.
Yeah, I share
because
that
money is
idea
important.
also.
Because money is important, and I'm sure we'll have a podcast talking about
money
objectively
money is super important, and I don't want anyone to
tool.
get the idea that
it's just a tool. It's just a tool. I mean, money is a tool. Money is a tool that I have to come here and spend a week all alone, just writing stuff, surfing. Money is a tool. So why is money important? To do the things that you want?
And I also think that money is a consequence.
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
if you work, if you deliver the work, if you money will be a consequence
absolutely
of that work.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that
we shift off the topic as usual, but I think that's also a good thing.
Yeah. Next episode, we are going to talk about on how to delegate with success and how to ensure quality. I think that's a good one, and because and we already talked about this. I think it was in the other episode on number 2 that. I think that the way I see things, the general dentist is not. It's something that's it's still not over, but it's almost over. Yes. Nowadays, we have more and more multidisciplinary teams. And again, even if you are not a practice owner, you have to be able to delegate. You have to be able to, but you have to be also have to be able to do it with security, that with trust. So that I think that would be a good one for next time. So thank you so much. So thank you so much, André, for the wonderful conversation. I love our conversations. I hope this is of interest for dentists, and I hope this brings some insights for some dentists. And I would like to say today that if someone has any questions, or if someone would like to get in touch with us, all our contacts are on the show notes. I'm going to put everything on the show notes. And please don't forget that we are going to have this leadership course in dentistry March next year. the beginning of March in the beautiful place, of Sagres. I will also put the link for the course in the show notes. And we are going to talk about all of these things that we've been discussing, but in a more practical way, with giving you the protocols, giving you the exercises, giving you the step by step on how you can implement this on your everyday dentistry practice, on the real dentistry practice. And so I would like to leave you the invitation, not only if you have questions or if you want to talk to us, but also to be with us on those 3 days and come learn with us. And we, of course, will learn from you, because I really I think that we all have to learn from each other, because just like you said, I also believe that we are in times of changing. These things are shifting, and I see every day dentists, colleagues navigating these new times, with uncertainty, and for me, these are fun times. So because I love what I do, and I think that dentistry is coming in this exciting time. But I know that it can be overwhelming. So I really do believe that we can help dentists navigating this new times, and our course will be a great tool for that. So, André.
Thank you so much. I really wish you could feel half of the energy of this place here. I'm really in a Zen mood. The sun is in my face. I'm completely absorbed by the sounds of this place, by the ocean on the back, and by the wind on the trees. And there's just some guy just started playing saxophone, which is not an instrument that I like that much, but it's really it's really pleasant to be here. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, and enjoy your week. And thank you everyone for watching us and for listening to us. Bye bye.